Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. My email is tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a 2014 model year limited edition of 250 pieces. This is the Zenith El Primero Lightweight. At 45 millimeters in diameter, there's a lot going on here. The chronograph pushers are made of titanium. The case is made of carbon fiber. There's an inner case made of aluminum. It has sapphire crystals front and back, and this mass of lightness, bereft of its strap and buckle, has a mass of only 40 grams, with the movement itself, made principally of titanium, having a mass of only 15.9 grams. So 45 in diameter, the watch is 13.4 millimeters thick, and it's 52.7 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw the watch on my wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and the watch wears nicely, though it is large. Taking a look from over the top, you can see that these lugs are just about over the edge of my wrist. So while the lightness means it sits like a feather and is very comfortable, I do think proportionally you need a bigger wrist than mine to make it look right, especially since it's very stark and black. So I'd recommend 17 centimeter circumference wrists and up, and you can even see down the barrel, those lugs are really out to the edge of my wrist. It's not super thick though. Surprisingly, for something with, well, frankly, 100-meter water resistance, a chronograph complication, a date wheel, and automatic winding, it will slide underneath most cuffs. The strap is very cool. Yes, it is lightweight, but it's also very technical, as we have a combination of vulcanized rubber with a rare appearance of Nomex fabric. This is a material that is highly durable, as well as flame retardant, and it's used on professional race car drivers' fire suits. Taking a quick look at the buckle, it is a double deployant here. You can see a double deployant made of titanium. It actually has little ceramic spring-loaded pin snaps internally so that the tolerances will remain snappy over time as the metal can't wear down the ceramic. We also have a twin trigger release system, so you need to press both triggers to release this clasp. It's not going to pop open due to inertia or sudden movement. Taking a look at the case, my favorite feature is the recessed profiles of the lugs, which give you a little bit of a look at the raw fabric of the carbon fiber in profile. Now you can see a woven carbon fiber is used, and the case lines are fairly simple and strong. We have a cylindrical case. We have a relatively narrow vertical lip to the bezel before it gives way to a conical profile. The lugs are somewhat squared off and downturned, and you can see the different pieces of the carbon fiber used to construct the lugs. The crown is actually coated with a polymer, and then we have titanium for the chronograph pushers. So these are blackened titanium. We have a slight camber and box section of the sapphire, and then a dial that is open. You can see that there's a skeletonized disc used for the date, and it sits over a little red panel that sort of backlights the skeletonization so you can see the current date. This is an El Primero, so the weird setting feature where it actually sets in the middle position, that is very much in play. You pull it out all the way, and you can see, like most historic El Primeros, it doesn't have hacking seconds. We do, however, have a quick set date. And you can see the jumper spring in action between 10 and 11. You can also see we have the overlapping tritone registers that have long been a signature of the El Primero, as well as rhodium-plated hands in steel with rhodium-plated applique indices to match. Outboard, we have a 60-second track that's suitable for reading chronograph seconds and fractions of second. You can also see ghosted onto the underside of the sapphire. Zenith El Primero, 36,000 vibrations per hour, as it has been since 1969, and the first El Primero, which was the industry's very first integrated automatic high-beat chronograph caliber, still one of the standards of reference. We'll do a quick loom shot here so you have a good sense of the watch in the dark, and you can see there's no shortage of luminescence, at least to read the bare time. Because of the 10 beat per second escapement, the watch has a double step cadence. When you hold it against the ear, it beats faster. You can also see that the chronograph seconds hand sweeps more smoothly, and we have a nice faceted polished ring for the date. It has a little aperture that looks nicely finished. The movement, made of titanium, is visible as the dial has been open wrought, and you can see underneath the mechanisms associated with changing the date in particular, as well as a little bit of the motion works that underpins the hands themselves. Flip it all over, you you can see that this is a limited edition 193 of 250. It is 100 meters water resistant, so you can go swimming. This is El Primero caliber 400B. Spindrift Racing was a collaboration between Zenith and a professional record-setting sailing team back in the early to mid 2000s, so that's what that is all about. And this is supposed to be a sporting-themed watch suitable for use on your record-setting yacht. Automatic winding, bidirectional. It's a traditional El Primero, which means that it's got a 50 to 52 hour power reserve. It pivots on 31 joules. It uses a combination of a column wheel function selector, which you can see easily, and a lateral clutch, which, because it's an open and airy movement, you can also see. Into engagement, out of engagement. The column wheel feel on an El Primero is among the finest in the industry. It's up there with the Breitling B01, the Rolex 4131. It's up there with the Dotograph L951 series. It sounds as good as it feels, and it feels spectacular. Now, not every automatic chronograph movement looks good. A lot of times the most interesting parts are buried, whereas on the El Primero, the winding bridge is very sparse. You can actually see the clutch, the column wheel, the levers, horns, clutch assembly, and recentering hammers of the chronograph, as well as jumpers and minute wheels underneath. So it's a really good looking movement. Even though the finish is industrial with a combination of satination, polish, media blasting, nevertheless, it's a great looking architecture, and the finish is handsome, albeit mostly mechanically applied in this price range. Just fantastic stuff. One of my favorite chronographs of all time, and one of the great chronographs in history, in one of the most individualist and unusual packages in the history of the Zenith El Primero. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Back with one quick note, I just want to add that the escapement in this watch is unlubricated and full silicone, so that improves performance in between services, reduces frictional losses, and ultimately prolongs the intervals between services. I also think it's important to note, because this watch having come out in 2014, you know that Zenith was already beginning to feed the silicone escapements into its model line back then.